So last week on the channel we got the platinum trophy for High on Life. If you haven't seen that video, I urge you to go check it out. I will leave a link to it down in the description below, so check it out when you get a chance. But just to quickly break down what happened, we were basically playing as someone that I like to call Jimmy, and he ends up becoming an alien bounty hunter in order to take down the G3 cartel that was responsible for invading Earth and destroying Gatlius, the home planet of the Gatlians. Well, one of the Gatlians that we pick up pretty early on throughout the game is called Knifey, and as I said in that video, he has his own dedicated DLC, and so in this video we are going to be going through the High on Life DLC, completing its story and earning all 12 of its trophies. And so with the intro out of the way, let's get into the video. We begin the DLC a few years after the events of the main game, and although the G3 cartel had been wiped out, we hadn't given up the life of a bounty hunter just yet. Now the eagle-eyed viewers will notice immediately that this is not Kenny. This is in fact an imposter. Nah, I'm kidding, this is Harper, but she is Kenny's replacement. Not really sure what happened to him. It gets mentioned that we dropped him while on a mission, and I just assumed that we never once thought to go back and save him, so yeah, great friend we are. Enough about them though, this story is about Knifey. Jean tells us that while out on a mission, Maxxon had attempted to deliver a package for Knifey, but he couldn't be bothered to get the door. He could be bothered to pick up the note that they left though, and after reading it, Knifey concludes that this could be his ticket back to his homeworld and asks us to help him track down the package. Of course we agree, and our first stop was the planet of Peroxis in search of MacLeod HQ. After arriving, we immediately notice that the surface of the planet is covered in salt, and even weirder is that the planet's main inhabitants are slugs, which is why half of them are always on the brink of death. A bit like this slug that I met in the local town's hospital. The salt had done irreversible damage to this old slug and he was on his deathbed. As he's dying, he asks us to fill his Make-A-Wish Foundation request by giving him all of the pesos that we have so that he can die a rich slug. Didn't really want to give him all my cash, but who am I to turn down his dying wish? Thankfully, giving him our pesos does nab us our very first trophy of the DLC, and even better is that he actually died straight after, so I even got my money back. It's a win-win. We've done our good deed for the day and it didn't cost us a penny. While in town, we also picked up a brand new gun. This is Ball, and he does exactly what his name suggests. He shoots balls, and of course, being a new gun, we will be using him throughout a good portion of the DLC, not just to take care of enemies, but because a lot of puzzles will also need him to be used in order to progress. We also end up finding out that the only way to Maxxon is to cross a massive lake of toxic water, and the only way to get there is by hitching a ride on a Duffalo. Of course, the farm where the Duffalo are being held is also across a lake of toxic water, but thankfully on our travels across the salty sands we come across a giant fat naked alien called Toxo, which also kind of looks like Vern from Over the Hedge if he like put on like 250 stone or something like that. He's a big boy, that's what I'm trying to say. He tells us that he can help us reach the Duffalo farm, but we must first do him a favour, and that favour was to help him have a bath. Thankfully, we didn't have to scrub any of that cheese off, but we did have to take care of the giant leeches that took a liking to his blood. While here, we also managed to get a missable trophy, and that was for basically taking care of all of the leeches on the front of his body, all while not leaving the toxic water that he was bathing in. Thankfully, this wasn't too difficult, and of course, doing so nabs us the Bathe with the Giant Nude Alien trophy.
Alright, you can come out and dry off now.
Yeah, we did, you little boss. Now help us out.
Lastly, he asks us to help him finish off his bath by heading through the nearby cave and removing the leeches that were currently eating his arse. This wasn't just a cave though, this was a local bar called Cheeks. Now this whole bar is a reference to an old TV series called Cheers, which had one Kelsey Grammer playing as a man named Fraser, who later went on to have its own TV show. Well, hanging out with the bar's patrons, which ultimately led us to spreading germs to Fraser, did manage to get us another missable trophy for meeting Fraser from Fraser. We then cleared the leeches off of Toxo's cheeks and went back to report our success. Because we had spent so much time in the bar though, he began to get a bit paranoid that we were looking at his crack and decides that he doesn't like us anymore before launching us through the sky. Thankfully though, he chucked us over exactly where we needed to be. Well, almost. Before heading over to the ranch, I ended up coming across a slug that goes by the name of Riddle Master, and he actually had a collectible that I needed as the prize up for grabs. He then asks us some riddles, and apparently I'm either incredibly bad at answering riddles or his riddles are ridiculously hard, because I didn't get a single one correct. For some reason though, he does give us the prize anyway, which makes me think he was lying about being wrong. After collecting my prize though, I decided I wanted the title of Riddle Master because he didn't deserve it, and decided to shoot him in the head. This did get me another trophy though. Eventually we find ourselves at the Duffalo ranch, and I don't know about you, but this really wasn't what I was expecting. Given the creators, maybe I should have, but I could never have predicted these absolute specimens would be Duffalo. We meet with the farm owner and ask him if we can catch a ride on one of his Duffalo, but was reluctant due to the fact that a local group of bandits had been attacking his Duffalo and feared that we were part of their group. Of course, this meant more killing, and we proceeded to clear out the entire base of bandits. The leader though wasn't actually an alien. In fact, he was a human like us, and it seemed a group of ruffians that he ran with saw him as some kind of god. Turns out this is a very generous god though, and he agrees to stop attacking the Duffalo. Not like he really had much of a choice anyway, but there you go. But with that, we head back to the farmer and tell him the good news. He thanks us for a job well done and lets us take a ride on one of his Duffalo, or rather inside one of his Duffalo. You see, these creatures don't carry cargo on their back. Oh no, that would be way too simple. Instead, all of the cargo is shoved inside of their anal cavity. So once again, much like the first game, we had no choice but to get covered in shit. While inside the Duffalo though, we end up discovering it actually has a parasite living inside of it, and all of a sudden the parasite and our gun creature really seem to hit it off. So much so in fact that we actually get to help creature clap them cheeks, and we get another missable trophy for helping our boy get laid.
God damn, that wasn't very good.
Yeah, I don't think either of us knew what we were doing.
To be honest, that might not have even counted.
Yeah, plus this might not be the best time to mention it, but I have kids.
Ew.
Eventually we get crapped out at Maxxon HQ, however something was definitely going on as the place was pitch black, there were creepy sounds all around us and plenty of dead bodies, so we proceeded with caution. I must say this is probably one of my favourite areas in the entirety of High on Life. I love the horror vibes this section gives off, and it actually gives the game a much darker tone, and I feel like it just brings a bit more seriousness to the situation. Even though there is plenty of comedy, it does bring it down a little bit, and it's something that I definitely welcome more of. While heading through the HQ, we end up stumbling across a survivor called Stelson. Now thankfully he turns out to be a Maxxon employee and is able to tell us that Knifey's package is in the missed packages room, so we head straight inside to find it. We didn't find the package though, and instead only found horrors awaiting us inside. We managed to fight off the abomination, however a much bigger abomination decides to come along instead. Turns out this was Marx, the CEO of Maxxon, and she wasn't happy at the fact that we had snuck into her facility and fucked up all her packages. Her words, not mine.
Because you trespassed in my facility and started fucking up all my packages, yeah.
This however leads her to attaching a parasite onto us, but it just so happens to be the one that was inside the Duffalo, so surely, seeing as him and creature have kinda got a thing, we're friends, right? Wrong, he just forces us to work on the line, sealing up packages, some of which contained humans. Eventually though, we get so bored that we say enough's enough and start to make our escape. Thankfully, Stelson had also managed to find our package, which made Knifey a very happy boy. It made me even happier as we now have a chainsaw knife, and using the chainsaw to kill one of the new enemy types nabs us another trophy.
Shit. You're gonna get us into so much trouble. Look, whatever you do, do not break the number 1 rule.
At this point, our only way of escaping meant killing Mux, so now our main goal was to use Knifey's chainsaw blade to travel along Maxxon's fleshy interior, all while popping these weird cyst-like growths to leave Mux vulnerable and open for killing. Of course, while doing this, there were a hell of a lot of enemies, and I actually managed to get the combat-related trophy That's All Folks for killing a total of 100 enemies with fully charged ball shots. And eventually we pop all of the cysts, giving us access to Mux, and of course this meant it was time for a boss fight. Now I actually really enjoyed this boss. She was definitely a lot tougher than most, if not all of the bosses in the base game, and she doesn't even really move. To make up for the lack of mobility though, she does have a pretty decent moveset, from firing out little minions to a full-blown laser show. She did take me down to very low health a decent amount of times, although we all know this only ends one way. We of course take down Mux, and in her parting words she even refers to us as the Riddle Master, which I thought was really cool, but even cooler than that is that we get another trophy for doing so.
I never thought I'd say it, but I'm tired of killing. I think I need a vacation. Takes it out of me.
With Mux now taken care of, we decided that seeing as we've now got the coordinates to Knifey's home planet, and Maxxon is just one big alien ship, we would use that to travel to Knifey's home planet. Once there, we actually do find the other Knifeys, and it turns out that we arrived on the day of the Great Sharpening. Thing is though that they aren't happy with him being there. You see, they actually sent him the package to return his old stuff back to him because they exiled him for being too violent. I mean, I get their point, he is pretty damn violent, but surely that's what he was made for? Well, according to this species, apparently not. Of course, Knifey doesn't take this too well. Turns out all he really wanted was a family, not realising that we were the only family he needed. So with that, we let Knifey get his revenge and then proceed to launch ourselves through the air and into space, killing all of the other Knifeys in our way and eventually reaching the end game credits. And I will say that I actually really like these credits as well. Don't get me wrong, Knifey absolutely rips into some of the team that went into making this game, but something about flying through space, chainsawing your way through credits is rather enjoyable than just a simple black screen with some scrolling text. Of course though, this now means that we have come to the end of High on Knife's story, and as one last treat for Knifey, we stab Gene once again, although we unfortunately don't get a trophy for this one.
Love you too, buddy.
So, with the story now complete, we could now turn our focus onto the cleanup stage and unlocking our remaining 4 trophies. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, in terms of cleanup, it is for the most part pretty much the same as the main game, with the bulk of our time spent hunting down trading cards as well as the various Maxxon packages instead of the Luglox boxes. Now, while the majority of both of these collectibles are scattered throughout Paroxys, there are a few which required us to take part in some side activities, although I actually did a good portion of these just while playing through the DLC. Kind of like racing the slug, you have to do that 3 times and then you end up getting a prize, which that itself was pretty funny. Like, there's 2 races that you could literally, it's impossible to lose unless you don't move and do nothing for the entirety of it. It is impossible to lose. Collecting all of the collectibles though does nab us 2 trophies, those being the cardboard trophy for collecting all 9 trading cards and the porch pirate trophy for collecting all 58 packages. And while going through and collecting all of these collectibles, I actually unlocked my final 2 trophies of the game, so I guess that makes the previous 2 the final 2, but you get what I mean. The first trophy we unlocked was the Harper, I Barely Know Her trophy for killing a total of 50 enemies with Harper's glob shot, and the second was the Sea Salt trophy for visiting every major Paroxian landmark and reporting our sights back to the tour guide.
I feel like we've been there before. So we went to the pond.
Moore's Pond! You saw Moore's Pond! What a treat! Actually, it's named after me.
And with those being our final 2 trophies, that does mean that we have not only platinumed High on Life, but have now officially 100%ed it as well. So if you saw my last video, you'll already know everything that I love with the game, from the story and locations to the comedy and the combat, even if it is basic for the most part. But I am glad to say that this DLC follows suit. Literally everything I loved about the first game, I loved about the DLC. And even though in regards to exploration we only get 1 planet to explore, it definitely feels a lot bigger with a multitude of secrets to discover and kind of different other mini locations within inside it. Now, the chances of us getting any sequel to this game or another DLC is extremely low, but I'm holding out hope because I genuinely had a really fun time going through it. So you already know I would definitely recommend this as a game to platinum, and I'm glad to say that the DLC is also 100% worth going through and getting all 12 of its trophies. Between both the main game and DLC, it doesn't take too long and it isn't very difficult. Granted, I didn't play on the hardest difficulty, so that could be a challenge, but from playing through it on normal, it's safe to say even the casualist of players could easily progress through it. But with that being the end of the DLC, this does bring us to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to smash that like button and share this video around. It shows your support, and your support is always appreciated on the channel. Make sure to leave your thoughts on High on Life's DLC down in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on to stay up to date with everything I upload. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.